I'd like to call the meeting to order. Roll call.
Mary Jo Wheeler-Schuler.
Present.
Tom Buckey.
Here.
John Tracy.
Here.
Lyle Lang.
Here.
Ken Bargander.
Here.
Russ Stauber.
Here.
Thank you.
Item number 2, approval of minutes from December 7th. I have a motion from Tom. Second.
Great, Mike. In a minute. Is that correct? The minutes, the last minutes, read 3,000. Oh, okay. Just, I didn't think you had 3,000. Yes. I'd be good if you did, don't get me wrong, but.
Okay. All right. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item number 3, election of a vice chair. Our bylaws state we need a vice chair. We currently do not have that position filled. I would like to nominate Tom Buckey. Second. What did you say, Russ? And all those in favor?
Looks like a railroad.
Yeah, it does. I'll make a motion that we close nominations and cast unanimous vote for Tom Buck.
Again. Good. Okay. 4, identify any potential conflicts of interest. Please be advised that per city policy 3340, any member of the body shall declare conflict if there is any interest, financial or otherwise, direct or indirect, or engaged in any business or transaction or professional activity or incur any obligation of nature that is in conflict with the proper discharge of the body's official duties. Do we have any conflicts? Any conflict? Okay. Moving on. Item number 5, citizens' comments. Citizens' comments, Steve.
As a staff member, it always seems weird when I talk under citizens' comments, but I felt this was the best place to do it. At our last meeting back in December, we had a business owner come here, a new business owner, and express some concerns about a few things, part of which was our inspection staff. I did talk with the person afterwards. I encouraged him to contact me and either meet with me or have a phone conversation. That hasn't happened yet. I haven't heard from him, but I did hear from the owner of that property who indicated that they have found our inspection staff to be good to work with, and if you follow the rules and you follow the laws, it's been, they've had successful interactions with our inspection staff. And I just felt that was worth noting in the midst of some of those comments. And I'm not trying to be disrespectful for that individual. I definitely like to hear his input and feedback, but I just wanted it known that the person who's been dealing with us on some of the projects on that site in general has been satisfied with what we do. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Any other citizens' comments? Item number 6, chairperson comments. I have nothing this morning, so just Happy New Year, everyone. Item number 7, board member comments. Go ahead, Ken.
I'll have 2 parts. Okay. Part 1, kind of follow up on what Steve just mentioned here. At our last board meeting, we listened to Josh from Greyhound Axe Throwing. While listening to his comments, I was somewhat appalled what he said about Mackey and the city building inspector. About Mackey, he said the chamber doesn't do much, and they were small and a young organization. Well, the truth be known, Mackey's been around for 78 years. They have over 500 members and businesses involved with it, plus all their redcoats. So that statement was not true. Okay, I find that very disorienting. I mean, I'm very upset by that. Okay, another thing, he mentioned that he had to spend $3,000 on a door because the building inspector made some changes. And he had to purchase his own exit light. I find that unusual because why would a tenant have to pay for renovations of a building that they don't own? And why would they have to be responsible to put exit lights in? The city has put $80,000 into that building, $40,000 into the interior. That means that there's $160,000 minimum put into that building. And why is the tenant putting more money into the building? I guess I don't understand. I don't know what their agreement was, but I mean, maybe we should look into where all this money has been spent. Where Muellers have been spending this money. That now the tenant has to put money in too. It's highly unusual. Part 2, 2024 starts my 18th year of serving the citizens of Marshfield on numerous commissions, board committees, and also formerly on the city council. As a member of the EDB, this board is the governing body for economic development in the city of Marshfield. All the board members, the board members' role is mostly advisory to provide oversight and direction to city staff. As individual board members, we do not have the authority to negotiate contracts, solicit RFPs, write grants, unless instructed by city staff. Doing so shows contempt for city employees. The board members should be respectful of our economic partners, such as Mackey, Main Street, Marshfield, Visit Marshfield, Wood County Seed Committee, and the Central Wisconsin State Fair. Making derogatory comments about these entities or their staff is disrespectful and unacceptable. Thank you very much.
Any other board member comments? Item number 8, update on 205 fund balance sheet available.
Thank you. We really don't have an update. It's too early in the month for us to have the update from December. I just want to clarify what I sent out to you by email during the month of December in terms of the question that was raised at our last meeting as why the drop of nearly $200,000 in the fund balance during the month of November. That the lion's share of that, almost all of it, was monies to be moved, transferred toward the Wenzel Family Plaza bathroom project, and that had been previously committed. So the current balance of roughly $1 million, actually $992,000, is probably very close to what it was at the end of November. There's been no other meaningful activity in that fund. I will send you a copy by email of the update report, which will probably be expected within, the next week. Any questions?
Questions?
Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Item number 9, report on 2023 Central Wisconsin State Fair.
Morning. Good morning, everyone. Dale wasn't able to make it this morning, so Sandy Leonard, president of the Central Wisconsin State Fair, thought it was easiest just to give you percentages. I can give you numbers, which unfortunately I didn't write, but that doesn't tell you how we're growing. In the 6 years Dale has been there, he's taken us out of the red. With the extreme heat, everything this year, our junior fair exhibitors, we had 1,095 exhibitors. They had 3,675 in entry, which is up from last year. Our open class had 502 exhibitors. Together, they had a combined 2,639 entries. Again, up from last year, even with the weather. Our sponsorships, we had some electrical help with sponsorships, was up 300%. Dale is getting our sponsors back. He has earned their trust, and we're starting to get help again. So that just shows his dedication to the Central Wisconsin State Fair. Our gate admission, we had over 62,000 people come through the gates. We are working with our vendor and trying to track children now, 5 and under, that are free. So we're starting to define and be able to break down how many senior citizens, how many veterans. So that's what we're working on this year, so we can actually have real specific numbers. So the gate attendance was up 24% from last year. And keep in mind, Wednesday, not many people came out because it was so hot. Our merchandise vendors, we have a new gal in charge of that, was up 75%. We're starting to turn people away, so we're trying to get more creative where we can put people on the ground. We never want to turn people away. Our food vendor, the proceeds were up 19%. People are spending more money. Our carnival, we made 2% more this year than we did last year, which just means there were more people on the ride. We put $150,000 into our wash rack. We put $25,000 into electrical, which we continue to fix. So again, going in the right direction, all of our numbers are up. I thank Mr. Bargander for his comment, because that is very important, showing respect between everyone. That's how we're gonna keep the city growing. Thank you.
Hi, Tom.
Thank you. As the chairman of the Fair Commission, we are working very well with Sandy and her group. We started out rough because we really never met before, but we are working very good together and look forward. We had a joint meeting. Sandy's group came to our meeting, and it's going to be our turn now coming up that we're going to go to their meeting. And communication is good, and I think we're working as a team, Sandy. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Tom. Any other comments, questions? Item number 10, presentation Woodland Play Cafe project. Katie?
Natalie, give a second. I had it queued up. Right. All you have to do is down.
All right, so I'm Katie Stuber and this is Courtney Maharg, and we are just here to, I guess, make everybody aware of the new business that we're starting in Marshfield and just help to gain support and awareness of our new nonprofit. So our mission is to support our community by creating a safe and welcoming environment for all caregivers and children. Children can learn in our open concept play space, and caregivers can relax and recharge in the cafe. So our goal is to create an open concept cafe with an open concept play area. So as you can see in the photo, we're looking to keep it very wide open so that parents can really have a place, or any caregiver can really have a place where they can reconnect, disconnect, recharge, answer emails, whatever it is they need to do. They can quickly glance up, see that their kids are safe and playing, and then go back to whatever it is they were doing. So we really want this to be a place for the entire community, regardless of any status whatsoever. So we're just going to show you kind of some of the components so you can get a really good feel for what it is we're looking to create. So we'll have a cafe area where you can order fresh foods like salads, wraps, things like that. And then we'll also have more kid-friendly foods, as well as some prepackaged items, bakery items, things like that. And then we'll have some more cozy seating as well as dining seating. So we'll have a separate infant and toddler area. So our feel is very Montessori, so that it's a more calming experience. We want to prevent too much of kids getting super rowdy and hyper, and promote a lot of independent play. So then within that, there will be a lot of different dramatic play areas. So a business might sponsor a vet clinic or a construction zone or a digging area, a coffee shop, things like that, and keep it very open so it's easily accessible to everybody. We'll also have sensory-friendly areas, art stations, quiet spaces, things like that. We'll really utilize our wall space with a lot of sensory-friendly stuff to keep kids from getting overstimulated. And then we'll also offer different areas like a mother's room for nursing, pumping, diapering, things like that. We'll have, as you can see on like the bottom middle, we'll have like a nice quiet room. So if kids do get overstimulated or they're just having a meltdown for whatever reason, you can take them and quietly get them ready to enter the play area. We'll have a retail space and then also a birthday party space, which is something that's really lacking in Marshfield right now. So just some of our other stuff that we'll have. So we'll have like large building block areas. We'll have science things like wind tubes, tunnels, bookshelves, quiet spaces. So a lot to offer. And then we will also have one large motor equipment that will be kind of bigger, like this picture here. It still will be limited to areas that, like, we won't have like a fireman's pole, things like that. So it'll still be really limited to things that you don't need to like really follow your children around. They can play independently on all of this equipment. Then we'll also offer a lot of different really fun stuff for birthday parties. So you can hire like characters to come. We can have bounce houses, things like that. So there's lots of different add-on options. And then ultimately, again, we just really want it to be available to everybody. So we really want to help people really connect as a community. So as a parent of young children, it can get really lonely, it can get really stressful. You oftentimes don't feel like you have the support that you need, especially if you are a lower income family and can't maybe utilize some of the things that are available. So we are a nonprofit, so part of our funds raised will go towards subsidizing the admission fee or birthday party fees, things like that for some low income families. We're hoping to partner with places like the Hannah Center where we can offer free admission to people that are staying there. And then offering a lot of just community-based classes. So we might do like cooking classes, baby yoga, things like that, children's music classes to really give parents a place where they can find their village so they can connect with others and try to not be so lonely and stressed as a parent. So basically our goal today is just to really bring awareness to this. We're not asking for anything except for you to share the word and encourage and support. And so we're currently in the fundraising stages. We're looking to secure a building. So if you know of buildings that are available, you can reach out to us. But we really just wanted to share it and get it out there and let you guys know that it's here and it's coming and we're excited.
Any questions for Katie? Go ahead, Russ.
I have one. I think it's a neat concept, new to me, but how would you compare it to like a traditional daycare center or?
So parents have to stay. So that's going to be the biggest difference. So this will be, I do run a daycare, but this is completely separate. Our daycare is going to be at a totally different, stay at its own location. So the big difference is that parents have to stay. We will, when available, we'll have staff like in the play area that can help to supervise the kids, but it's ultimately the parents' responsibility to still keep an eye on them. But that's why we really are designing it to promote that independent play so that you don't have to follow them around. It's kind of its own separate space while still being visible to everybody. So think more children's museum, but not the type you have to follow them around.
And thinking about the layout of Marshfield, what's an ideal location for you? What are you targeting location?
So what we have found is like spaces downtown are too small. So as much as we would love to be right downtown, we haven't found one that's large enough. We definitely want to stay like in town as much as we can. I don't know. Can I share where we So we want to be in the Buffalo building, but we know there's a lot of things up in the air with that. But we had actually looked at that for purchase before it was gifted. And so really we just need like a big open space. So we'd like to be as in town as possible. We want it to be really, really accessible. So one of the goals is to be not like trampoline park where you might splurge a couple times a year, but we want this to be something people can actually utilize like multiple times a month. So.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Steve has a comment.
You've already said it, but what would be your ideal space?
So a minimum would be like 5,000 to 7,000 square feet, but we would love to be closer to 10,000 square feet.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, item number 11, discuss possible contribution to the pickleball project. Steve?
Thank you. Just a reminder of how we got here. Last month, we did talk about this project, the pickleball project, which had a wonderful presentation from these folks about the value to the community economically and otherwise, the benefit it would provide to the citizens of Marshfield. During the discussion, a motion was made, but we couldn't entertain it because it wasn't an action item per se. It was just a presentation on the agenda. It was also asked to find out how much money has already been contributed from other sources, be it the city directly or grants. You have a memo in your packet that touches on the amount of money that the city is committed in borrowing for the project. Room tax monies, the combination of which is $150,000, and then a couple of grants from the Community Foundation of Wood County that would also supplement this project. And of course, there's a lot of private fundraising going on. That's what these folks were talking about. So they're back. Thanks for returning. I appreciate you guys being here. And also Justin Casperson, our Parks and Recreation Director, is here to answer any questions you might have to consider whether additional funds could or should be contributed toward the project.
Any questions for Steve or the pickleball group? Go ahead, Tom.
Thank you. I know the city's given money to this project, but I'm going to make a motion to put $50,000 from our group towards this. And I'll leave it up to Steve as far as where the best place to take the money from, what account or whatever. But that would be my motion to contribute $50,000.
We have a motion to contribute 50. Do we have a second?
I'm just assuming we have the authority to do that. I don't know. I mean,
Steve, can you address?
Yeah.
You might as well just stay up there, Steve.
I think getting ahead of ourselves, but the funding source would presumably be one of two things, either requesting use of the 205 Economic Development Fund. I mentioned earlier there's just short of $1 million. That would require a budget transfer by the council. It would be a recommendation from this body to allow you to transfer the funds for that use. The other would be reallocating money from the 2024 approved budget, be it facade grant or other monies, to put toward this. Those would be the two primary funding sources if you wish to contribute to this project.
So we'd be putting a recommendation through council then to transfer.
Correct. That would be it. Recommending that this is an important project and you'd like to see funds transferred for that use. Presumably, I think from the 205 Economic Development Fund, because unless you're looking to reduce, like I said, the facade grant or other of the monies that you plan to spend for other purposes this year.
Thank you for clarifying that, Steve. Does that answer your question, Lyle?
Yeah, so the motion would be amended then to make the recommendation.
Sure.
So do we have a second?
I would second that with the idea that it doesn't come from any other program like facade program.
All those in favor?
Well, we have discussion time.
Sure, Russ. Discuss.
Right.
Yeah.
So I support pickleball, and I just want to make that clear. I do think that $185,000 contribution from the city of Marshfield thus far is a fairly healthy contribution. Indications are that fundraising is going pretty well. Okay. And bigger picture, when I think of, the role of city government and work government, I think it's best to help when the private sector isn't working on its own, and maybe we need to intervene a little bit. I would be more inclined to support the $50,000 contribution if we reach a point where it's a deal breaker and the project can't move forward. But at this point, I won't support the $50,000. I think we should save that for something more. Well, I don't want to make a comparison to quality of life type facilities as the pickleball court, but at this point, I won't support the $50,000.
Any other discussion?
Thank you. If I could, if we could get the people up to, again, talk briefly about where I'm going with this is tournaments and what it's going to bring to Marshfield. That's why I'm really, if I could, Madam Chair,
Absolutely.
if they would like to speak to that.
Yeah, like we said, 2 weeks ago, I went over to Wausau to play pickleball over there with the group over there, and I was telling them about the courts we were getting here. The feedback from them was, wow, we can't wait to come to Marshfield to play. I guess that's what I'm looking at. These courts are going to be absolutely beautiful courts. We're going to have a Central Wisconsin coming to Marshfield to play. It is going to generate income in this town. Lake Hallie just announced that they're putting in 18 pickleball courts over there. 500 seated stadium court even. That just shows you the demand for this sport and how it is growing. You know, initially when I started this, I go, okay, we're gonna have the best courts in the state of Wisconsin. Unfortunately, Lake Hallie just upped us. But so now we're thinking of going 18 courts and then 600. No, just kidding. But I'm just telling you, the demand is there. And if we do build these courts, I know the Central Wisconsin, we will get these people to come here. Tournaments, no doubt about it. You're talking 300-400 people here in town. Generate, the hotels will generate income there. Where it's located at, the restaurants and everything else. In the long run, I think these courts will pay for themselves. I really do believe that.
Thank you. I also believe Marshfield doesn't have any natural resources, and this is something that we can create to draw people into the community. And
Correct.
I think Lake Hallie is close enough. I mean, they're fortunate that they have John Menard's that's their backing over there. We're close enough that it could possibly draw, especially with the large tournament that they're going to pull over there.
And like I say, when we were out doing our funding and talking with the clinic and everything like that, they said the same thing. They're good. This is something that we can, with as far as recruiting to get people to this town, this is something that they're saying, hey, we can put this on there and show them that we are growing and that, you know, the facilities that we're putting together. I say pickleball is just a third of that park in general. I say that all is going to be redone. That's just going to be a beautiful park. I think the whole community will be using that park. It's a positive for this community. It really is.
Will we have a motion and a second? Any other discussion or questions? All those in favor? Signify aye.
Aye.
Sorry, Tom, go ahead. Okay, we can do a roll vote.
Yeah. Mary Jo Wheeler-Schuler. Tom Bucky. John Tracy.
Yes.
Lyle Lang.
Yes.
Ken Bargander.
Yes.
Russ Stauber.
No.
Thank you.
Motion passes.
I did have one weird question. So it's an odd winter. You said you were playing last weekend or whatever. Is that something, depending upon the snow conditions, that people are playing year round?
Yeah, even now we play at the Y indoors. Just to give you the example, they set up 5 courts for us yesterday at the Y. We had 42 people there. So there's a lot of sitting. That's where this started it from the get-go. I mean, we were doing 4 courts at Oak Street. Then we went to the middle school for 8 courts we were filling at. There is a need for the 12 courts, yes. And yeah, indoors, I did hear rumor mill going around that they might, Marwood is talking about building a facility with youth hockey. And they're also talking about putting in 6 pickleball courts there also. So between that and the Y, we should be good.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. Item number 12, discuss possible changes to time board meetings. I'd like to say that this wasn't something that was brought on the agenda from last meeting. This person brought this forward afterwards to Steve in the office. This has been discussed. This isn't something that has to do anything with economic development. It has to do with someone not being able to get up out of bed in the morning. And I guess we have to discuss it again. So, Natalie, do you have the votes from the time?
7 people responded. 6 of them stated, or 7 stated the 7:30. 6 stated 7:30, 8 or 8:30. 1 said 3:30 only, or 3 o'clock only. So it looks like majority. I don't know who submitted what, it's anonymous, but majority voted 7:30.
So can we put this item to bed so there's no more discussion of what time we have to come in the morning?
Can I make a motion to leave it as is?
Yes, that would be great. Do we have a second? Second. Tom? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Good. Moving on. Item number 13, project updates.
Thank you. Well, I have a number of things I'll go through probably fairly quickly. You can interrupt me if you want to. You can just wait till the end if you have questions on any of these. The TIF district projects we've been talking about continue on. I don't want you to think they're not, even though I have nothing in particular for you to review today. We are in the process of closing TIF District 5 as the amount of money that we've collected is enough to pay off the remaining debt. So you'll be hearing about that in the next few months. And that will be part of something we're going to talk about with the project as well. We are creating TIF District 15 in its place, and that would be presumably to take into account most of the remaining parcels in Mill Creek Business Park, which is what TIF District 5 is, that haven't been built upon. So we have the opportunity to give incentives to draw companies to build in that part of the industrial park. And that does include Weinbrenner, who we're continuing to talk with. We have another meeting set up with them for Tuesday, the 16th. But we're continuing dialogue with phone calls and emails and working on how we might be able to assist them in building in Mill Creek. TIF District 13, we continue to work with Denyon Homes on that project at 21st and Washington. Again, that's for single family, two family units and a few fourplexes. And a lot of stuff going on. We're discussing a development agreement. We're not at any place right now that we can report anything, but they still want to move forward in building some new residential homes out there in that part of our community. And TIF District 14, that's Jeff Hill. That's the project he wants to do up there between Marwood and Fleet Farm along the east side of Veterans Parkway. In TIF District 14, same thing, working with him in terms of what it might look like, how many units he can get on there, and a development agreement that would allow the city to help make that a reality. So I hope by the time we next meet that there might be more to report on one or more of these projects. I just want you to know that they are not stopped. They are continuing to be discussed and hopefully moving forward. The council approved on December 12th an agreement with Vanderwall for implementation of the first phase of the West 2nd Street redevelopment plan. So before the end of this month, I suspect there'll be something happening there in terms of a first meeting, talking with Vanderwall staff about kicking off that project, which is exciting. Obviously, been in the works for a long time. I'm told that, and maybe you've heard this, that the Hobby Lobby will open in the Marshfield Mall, now called Marshfield Town Center, on February 19th. That'll be I shouldn't say the final piece. They're still hoping to get another tenant out there they've been working with. But if you put that together with Ross Dress for Less and the Five Below, that's a major improvement for that property. And we're excited about keeping more people in the city over the weekend, hopefully, and not going to Wausau and other places as a result of that. Be working soon with Kaylee on the 2024 facade grant program, getting some publicity out that. We have, obviously another $70,000 available. Plus, I believe there might be some carryover from the past to look at as well to help fuel not only exterior work, but also interior conversions where they apply for residential upstairs apartments or, restaurant work or whatever it might be that fits into that program. So we're looking forward to another good year of facade and interior conversion grants. I want to remind everybody that the change in land price is effective now. As of the first of the year, our industrial and business land is being marketed or will be marketed at $20,000 an acre. Again, that doesn't mean we can't reduce the price or even waive, or I should say refund the purchase price if we wish based upon what we're getting. Tax value, job creation, those kind of things. But officially, it will be $20,000 an acre instead of $10,000 an acre for any new inquiries. That doesn't apply with anybody we've been working with prior to 1/1/24, including Weinbrenner. But any new inquiries, that would be the price that we're starting with. The housing team that was created has not yet met in terms of schedules and stuff. And I know there's a couple members of this body that are on there. Look for that to be restarted here in January, trying to get a first meeting. And one of the things we'll be talking about is affordable housing. Because the council did, as part of looking at closing out TIF District 5, they did approve a resolution that will make available 1 year of increment, roughly $430,000 toward affordable housing in some way, shape, or form. It could be a project, or it could be other ways of providing assistance to support lower to moderate income housing. So we'll be talking more about that in this body too, probably in February. The process of trying to find the new position that the council created last year called Assistant City Administrator / Community Development Director goes on. The interviews, we have 3 candidates, and they'll be interviewing here a week from today, January 11th. Be meeting with some city staff, members of the council, and a couple of other economic development partners will be in the interviews as well, hoping to find someone good, and depending upon how much time they have to give to their current employers, we hope to see somebody starting around March 1st, which would be really exciting to have that position. We've gone 2 years by that point without having a director in that department. And so the prospect is obviously exciting. We do have elections going on right now. We had some contested elections for council. No one ran against Mayor Teestrake, so presumably she'll be reelected. Seeing if she's in the room. But we have contested races in 3 of the other 5 in districts 1, 3, and 7. And 5 and 9 are not contested. All 5 incumbents are running, but we have 3 challengers running as well. So you'll be hearing more about that as we head into the election, which will be in April 2nd. We don't need a primary because there was not more than 2 candidates for any one office. Working on updating the Mill Creek Business Park covenants. The park was developed in 1999, so they're 25 years old. A lot of the covenants, we need to look at our parking, landscaping requirements, stormwater management, things that there are different standards now. This is not an attempt to either make it harder or easier for people to build in the park. It's really not about lowering our standards or raising our standards as much as it is trying to correct some things that maybe fit with today's expectations for those kind of things. However, the topic that has come up and will come up is currently we do not allow non-tax paying entities to be in the park. I know we've talked about the sports complex that would like to locate out there. They're very interested. And there's another organization that's interested in being in our business park as well. Currently, that would not be allowed under the covenants, but one part of the covenant update that's being discussed is whether or not that would be changed. So that's something being considered. And then the other thing is we've been using Josh Miller and Cedar Corporation for our economic development consulting in the last year. The council, I brought to them another 3-month extension through the end of March. And the council kind of feels like we maybe ought to look around a little bit. So we have a 2-month extension through the end of February with Cedar Corporation, with Josh Miller, our former director, being our representative. But I'll be working in the next couple of weeks to put out a request for qualifications from all companies, and there are other companies that provide that service, to see if others would like to be our economic development consultant. Now, I do want to say in the long term, again, when we get a director on board for that department, one of the first orders of business will be to look at filling positions. First and foremost, the city planner position that's been vacant for 18 months almost now. And then the question will come up, and we'll be discussing it here too as well. Do we want to look at having a staff person, an economic development specialist in the department? Or do we want to look at continuing consulting services, maybe beefing up consulting services from a professional firm to fill that void? And we definitely want the new director on board to be part of that really important discussion on what the department structure looks like. So I've covered a lot of ground in the last however long I've been talking. I would take questions on that or anything else.
Hey, Steve, I would like to say thanks for your update on stuff. I've been sitting in this chair less than a year, and I'm glad to hear that Weinberner is moving forward and some of the other housing stuff is moving forward. So thank you for what you and the city are doing to keep that ball going and that wheel turning. So. Well,
you're welcome. I appreciate you saying that. And, it's a constant engagement with these folks, the developers in the housing too, to make sure that we're trying as best we can to meet their needs. If you can't, you can't. But we want to get as much residential, industrial, and commercial development here as we possibly can.
Russ, you wanted to say something?
Yeah, I also want to thank you for the broad update, Steve. I had a couple of questions. You answered them, but I wanted to dive in a little bit more on Tax Incremental District 15 as a subset of Tax Incremental District 5, which we're closing. And maybe it was a Freudian slip, but you said to attract more companies. And that led to the covenants question I was going to ask. So it sounds like, not-for-profits are being considered or might be considered as an exception to the covenants or a change to the covenants. I guess I'm open to that. I'm thinking more traditional, bring in, more jobs, expand the tax base. And I'm not sure how a not-for-profit would do that in one of our business parks. So I'm just stating a comment. I guess I'm not looking for a reaction, but it's interesting to know that the Covenant Committee is considering in effect, lowering the standards in that regard. You said that they weren't, but I would say it is a lowering of standards. If we look at economic development in its purest sense, it's to bring in jobs and, broaden the tax base. But I also understand that what happened 25 years ago may be no longer relevant.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up. I mean, I think this could be a very good topic for this board on February 1st. Here's the issue. I mean, I think, and the chair has said this here at these meetings, and others have said it too. Our goal is to spur on economic development and activity. And I think the question is, when you look at the idea that maybe you would consider selling business park property to a non-tax-paying entity, what are they going to do for us? And one of the ones that's out there that's obviously prominent is this new sports complex. And, you think about the potential economic value of having hockey tournaments and all sorts of other things that bring people to town. Maybe they eat here, they lodge here, they do whatever, they spend money here, weighing that against what the reason for the park was. The initial reason for the park was to get the kind of businesses we have out there, like prevention genetics and dental crafters and others. So it's an interesting discussion to have as to whether or not you would ever allow a non-tax-paying entity. The Carpenters Training Institute from the Wausau area made a pitch for being able to do this back about a year ago, and that didn't go anywhere. But I think that they're still out there as a company that would like to locate in a business park, but they're not a tax-paying entity. But again, they definitely have economic impact on your community from what it means to so many other aspects of your world. So it's going to be a good discussion, I think, that'll be had.
I'd like to challenge you a little bit too, Russ. My husband, Randy Schuler, had Schuler Construction out there, and they built Fastenal and Trimpack, and those covenants and restrictions out there. There's a lot of other business parks in Spencer and Stratford that are filling up, and we chase businesses off sometimes because the additional cost that it costs to build a building, to put the facade on or put extra things on to make it look a certain way. If we were full or we had the luxury of doing that, I'd say, yeah, have those restrictions, but we don't. And when we have communities outside us that are bedroom communities that are filling up their business parks, we need to take a look in the mirror and say, hey, what are we doing differently? Or could we do differently to attract things? The Carpenters Union, that building out there, is a shame that didn't move here. We need these things. All these things bring economic, people, housing, buying things. That's all economic development. So I'm glad to see that they're discussing changing those covenants and restrictions.
I have a follow-up question. It slipped my mind. And I guess what comes to mind for me when you talk about different parks, we've got different parks, we have different covenants, different expectations, different tenants. And what came to mind for me was the Quick Trip on the corner of Central and Veterans Parkway. And there was a demand from Quick Trip to put a station there. And we pushed back and said, we don't mind a station there, but we want it built a certain way. And that's how we ended up with the building that we currently have. It was a higher end version of Quick Trip, but the covenant, I don't think we had covenants in place, but because of our requirements, our higher standards, we ended up with a better looking building, which is more conducive aesthetically to the downtown. Lost my train of thought there. So I guess I'll just pass on my follow-up question.
It's a fine line, because I really appreciate what Mary Jo said. We don't want to see businesses going to other communities. On the other hand, we definitely want to include, and we are going to include, and have started to include actually, the park tenants, if you will, in the discussion. I mean, we don't want people like Prevention Genetics and those other companies to feel like, that we're selling out to allow things that, they wouldn't have invested in the park. But that's not what we're doing. We're just trying to make it, I think, update to 2024 standards. And we want to be as open as we can. More than half of the land in that park is still available. I mean, after 25 years, more than 50% of the acreage is not built upon. So we definitely want to see more activity.
That was my follow-up question. Input from the existing businesses, because the last thing we'd want to do is have someone pack up because they think that it's not a good fit, a new resident, maybe the overall depreciating their brand, or people wanting to work there.
I agree. They've made significant investments in those facilities.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I too, Steve, thank you for your updates. One thing I would say, you did a nice job of some of the other TIF districts, but people don't really know, like, TIP district number 5. Could you just briefly state where that is for the public, please?
Yeah, I apologize. TIF District number 5 is basically Mill Creek Business Park. And that's where we talked about, again, people like Prevention Genetics and Dental Crafters and Top Form. Again, created in 1999. We bought the property, put in sewer, water, all those things, and streets to attract business and hopefully recoup our investment. Just touching on the other ones, because I ran through real briefly, 13 is the area south and east of 21st and Washington. It's a mixed-use district, and really, even though we're looking to get some new business along Veterans Parkway down in that area, but the real goal is to try and spur on some housing. TIF District 14, I'm just going to go through them real quick. TIF District 14, the new one created along the east side of Veterans Parkway between Marwood and Fleet Farm, with the hope of capturing some business activity, but also creating some residential. The current proposal from Jeff Hill is for duplexes and triplexes. And then TIF District 15 is just going back to TIF District 5, because we're closing 5. The goal is to take the remaining part of 5 in large part, put something new in place to be able to offer financial incentives to be able to get companies like Weinbrenner and others to build out there. And it's the same kind of incentives that we made available initially to the people who are there now, but the expiration date has come on the first TIF district.
Okay. Any other discussion, questions for Steve? Okay.
Thank you very much.
I appreciate it. Item number 14, economic development activity updates. We don't have anything. We can get out of here in an hour. No, just kidding.
Happy New Year, everyone, and thanks for the opportunity for an update here. First off, we have a lot of work going on with our housing ready implementation teams. We have a schedule that's been established and can be found on the Wood County webpage. And so if you want to check into those meeting dates, please do. Also, just want to share that we have been working on the Wood County Economic Development Grant Program, and we're looking at clarifying the process and the parameters for that to have a smoother process this year. So that's pretty much about it.
Any questions? Question? Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. You're out of the hot seat. Any other economic development updates, activities?
Through, I've seen it.
Yep, they can just be passed around and breeze through. I know, John, you already have a copy. So I'm passing around the holiday gift guide from 2023. Hopefully everyone had a chance to already see that during the holiday shopping season. Those went out electronically. And then thanks to partnership with Visit Marshfield, they put an ad on the back of that, and they fund about 4,000 copies to go out throughout the community. In addition to that, the larger employers that we worked with this year to get that distributed to their employees included Dental Crafters, Prevention Genetics, the Wood County staff, CVB in Wisconsin Rapids, and here in their newsletters, Mill Creek, Wenzel Farm, Mackey, Rail, Midstate, UWSP Marshfield, the Marshfield Clinic, and area hotels. We're really excited about our expanded reach, and we hope to go even further next year. We did have a good conversation following up last month's meeting with that business that came in. We spoke with them, Mackey spoke with them, the city spoke with them, and I think we're all on a good page now moving forward. The EV committee is considering a targeted approach this next year to buildings that need a little more rehabilitation assistance. We know that the facade is available. We know that there's some regional grants available for building rehabilitation, but sometimes they need a little bit more handholding and resourcing. And without city staff in the Development Services Department, we're hoping we can kind of provide an extra boost for them as well. We are also involved in the Ready implementation plan with Jason and his team, and just really appreciating the heads that are on those teams. Thank you so much to you and Kayla for coordinating that. And then an update on the facade program. We are in the process of redrafting that. The Economic Vitality Committee, Design Committee was able to look at that. We passed it along to Josh Miller for the next run through, and right now it's in the hands of Andy Reigel, and he's redrafting something that we will bring to this committee hopefully next month. Any questions?
Questions?
Go ahead.
Kaylee, I think your organization does a great job for the city. You've been a good business partner for economic development. I'm always been impressed with what you've been doing, along with the rest of our business partners, of course. But it's important to have good business partners and that we all work together and for the betterment of the city and the citizens of Marshfield.
Thank you
For what you do.
Anything else? Russ?
Well said, well said, Mr. Barkender. I would also say the shopping brochure, I mean, it was a breath of fresh air. I didn't expect that coming from Marshfield, and I was looking at it and kind of studying it over and thinking it was pretty cool. So I don't know if that was the first time you ever did that, but I thought it was well done. So thank you.
All right. Any other economic development activity updates? Matt?
Good morning. I do want to give Kaylee, I think the holiday guide turned out really great. We're getting some great feedback from that and proud to be a partner with you and Main Street on that. Wanted to say our 2024 visitor guide is out. There's a big rack next to the door, so please grab them on the way out if you haven't got one already. Again, proud to showcase another great event that Marshfield has with Hub City Days, car show on the cover, and as well as other things. So we're pretty proud of this guide, getting some positive feedback. We have it in dozens of locations around town, as well as all the hotels, and dozens of locations around the state. So we're kind of coordinating all the shipments and getting it out to the visitor centers and the other convention visitors bureaus and places that these are distributed. A few other brief updates. Right now is kind of a time that we kind of review our websites. We have about 4 different websites that we kind of go through. So we're updating, make sure we have current businesses that are open, some that closed, or new things, adding kind of all those. It would be nice if we got some snow, outdoor winter recreation. So we like to try to talk about the tubing at Powers Bluff. Hopefully that will happen this year. We're doing some refining on our marketing plan. Going to be hosting an annual meeting for the Visit Marshfield board here in a few weeks. Let's see here, working on our event calendar. Did recently speak to our partners with Hub City Gymnastics, planning on doing Batter State Games again here in April. So that's a good thing. Brought about 700 kids last year and filled our hotels. Also working with the fair and Justin on the convention center plans for the fairground. So excited about that project idea. I think that's a good brief update. Any questions?
Any questions for Matt? Tom? No? Okay.
Okay, thanks. Please grab a copy of the guide on your way out.
Tom?
Thank you. I guess I got to have more to do, but I seem to come up with some different ideas when I'm idle. And everybody's probably seen that commercial with a sledding hill or tubing hill with the ladies that are probably my age laughing as they're going down the hill. Anyway, I would like, and this is new, nobody really knows about this, but Michelle probably knows a little bit something about this, but you got the UW here in town. And you got all kinds of land in the back that really isn't being used. I'd love to see a sledding hill. Of course, we need that ingredient that Matt said, we got to have snow. But if it's possible, I would like to see something like that. I don't think it would cost a whole lot to do that. I got to talk with the people at the UW and see where we can go with that. But I think that would really be in Marshfield. I know we have Wildwood Park, which we don't advertise because of the trees there and the water filtration area. We don't really want them there. So that's in my mind. So hopefully I can get a yes or a no from somebody if it's feasible or not. So, and we would have to have one of you leading the slide down the hill, you know, and laugh and do all that stuff. I got to look to see which one of you is going to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thank you. What, Steve? You look like you want to say something. Don't trip.
I know. I'm so subtle when I do things like that, all right? It's
okay.
trying desperately to be noticed. No, I just want to take a moment to give a shout out here. You know, we talk about what wonderful partners we have in Mackey, Main Street, Visit Marshfield. Appreciate them so much, and they do great work. But I also want to recognize Jason and his efforts with Wood County. And you've been a great conduit for the city and the county for so many years. And I was thinking earlier about TID 5. We're closing out TID 5. We have $140,000 roughly that's been set aside that remains from a fund that we were able to establish there when we had the expenditure period run out for TID 5. And the county's been gracious in working with us and spending those monies down. Jason met with us the other day to talk about what could be used, how those $140,000 could be used as we close out TID 5. And I just wanted to thank him for coming to 7:30. I'm not a morning person, and he obviously doesn't live in town. So thanks for what you do. Appreciate it.
And he was one of the first ones here today, too. Thank you. All right, number 15, suggested items for upcoming agendas. Does anyone have any items that they'd like to bring up?
Thank you. And I'm horrible with names. I can't even remember my name at the time. But we have a gentleman engineering firm that's talked here before. Please say your name if you would, please. Rick. Thank you. I think we should look at pursuing that a little bit more, the services that he's looking at. So if we could get something going with that, Steve, please.
If I could add, probably for 3 of the items I mentioned, it will be, so I'll talk with you about me.
Sounds good. Any other items for the agenda? Upcoming agenda? All right. Quiet down there, Jen. Nothing? All right, item number 16, announce the meeting February 1st, 7:30 a.m. Thursday. If you guys could do a favor to Natalie, just reply back to her if you're not coming, and then she'll just assume that you're coming, because we were all a little panicked here this morning, wondering if we were gonna have a quorum or what was going on. So, and then item number 17, adjourn. Do you have a motion? Yes. We did it in an hour, guys.